Hello, I'm Chris Buck and welcome back to another haul video. Now today I'm going to be showing off every record I bought in August 2023, and better buckle up because this is perhaps my biggest and best haul video yet. I got a lot of really rare and valuable vinyl records, some really strange oddities, as well as some also very big name, very famous albums. A lot of them are in the later half of this video, so I would encourage you to stay tuned throughout the entire video, as these records at the beginning of this video were just ones I bought kind of locally, and then I went on a road trip and bought a bunch of records in the later part of the month that were featured later on in this video. So yeah, beginning with the records I bought back just kind of at home is Rush. This is Rush's first album. I managed to look out and get a bunch of Rush's albums in good condition here at the beginning of the month. And at the time this video is coming out, I will have actually already reviewed this video on my channel. So I do want to encourage you to go watch that video, my review of Rush's debut album. A very good album. My favorite Rush album, quite possibly. I know that's heresy to say, but I have already reviewed this, so please go check that out after this video. Now, I also have more of Rush's albums here that I got at the same time as that. Fly By Night and Caress of Steel. Very nice, and not as important to me as the first album is, but there is some great stuff on these albums. Caress of Steel in particular is not an album you see around very often, and this is in good shape with the gatefold, see? So yeah, that is very nice and helps kind of complete the collection. Alright, and up next we have 2112 by Rush. This is a early Canadian pressing that is in a gatefold sleeve, which is mostly why I bought it. The record is in imperfect shape, but you can see it's in a gatefold sleeve. I will show this off in another video when I get around to reviewing this album later. I do want to point out that on this channel we stand Neil Peart's mustache. If you prefer his non-mustache look, then that's fine too, I guess, but we stand his mustache on this YouTube channel, so fair warning to all of you, we'll be seeing it quite a bit. We also have Rush's Hemispheres here, of course. Very nice, awesome, in a gatefold. Once again, it has some sort of insert as well that you don't see around as much. So very nice, once again, and that's the end of Rush albums for now. Up next, Van Halen albums. Now, we do talk about Van Halen quite a bit on the Rock Roundtable, but I actually didn't have any of their albums up until the very early part of this month. That's their first album. Here's their second album. And here's their third album, Women and Children First. All great albums. I quite like them, and I'm very glad to have them in my collection. And once again, very famous albums. Good finds, good deals, very nice additions. Another album I got was Steely Dan's first album, Can't Buy a Thrill. This was the only Steely Dan album I was missing from the original run, and I got it in, as you can see, quite good condition in the original gatefold sleeve. So, that is very nice. One of their best albums, if I do say so myself. So, another good addition, and completes the set for me, which is very nice. Now, I may be overusing the phrase very nice in this album haul video, but I think you haven't heard the last of it yet, because these next two albums also complete a set for me. Next is Neil Young's Tonight's the Night, and this is a promotional copy. The sleeve is in the world's greatest condition. The record really is actually in really good condition, and this is just an album I didn't already have in any form, and even if I did have it, it's really nice to get this promotional copy with the Warner Bros. Not For Sale sticker. And I also got Neil Young's Zuma. Not an album that I had, it was just one I was missing. And with these two, I now have every studio album by Neil Young from the 70s. There's still a couple of live albums I'm missing, I think, but this completes my Neil Young 70s studio album collection. So that's very nice. Now, something else really cool I got was this, Calling the Passion So Tough by the Beach Boys. Now, early versions of this album actually came with Beach Boys' Pet Sounds album as a 2LP. Now, I do already have Pet Sounds, but Here's another copy of Pet Sounds, just for, you know, the pet soundsiness of it all. This is the double LP version of Calling the Passion So Tough. So, kind of nice. It's only better than getting a version that was just, you know, the studio album. Very nice to get the kind of pack-in 2 LP version of Pet Sounds. Now, before we get on to the really good stuff from my trip, we're just finishing up the only part of the month. We have some what are basically broken bin finds. That is Jack Bruce's song, So Tailor. And this is The Crazy World of Awful Brown. Now, I will be reviewing The Crazy World of Awful Brown here probably in October for Halloween, just because it's kind of got Halloween vibe to it. So, yeah. Now, let's move on to the really good stuff from my trip. So up next, I went on my road trip and I visited this place called Plan 9 Music, which is in Charlottesville, Virginia, although they do apparently have a Richmond store as well, though I didn't visit that one. And I got this. This is Buckingham Nix's album. The first album by Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham before they joined Fleetwood Mac. Kind of a rarity these days, as it's never really been re-released on anything. And this is an original 70s gatefold pressing. So, I mean, that's really cool, and I will be reviewing this album very soon after this video comes out. The Friday after this video comes out, that is the second Friday in September, for those of you keeping track at home. So keep an eye out for that, because it's only one of the most unique albums that I have reviewed on this channel. After that, I also got, at the same store, a very good lineup of Grateful Dead albums. Someone had sold them, I guess, the Dead collection, and I didn't get all of them. Honestly, I could have done more if I wasn't trying to save money. So that's Anthem from the Sun, the Grateful Dead's second studio album. This is Axamox, or however you want to pronounce it. I actually already have a repressing of this album, but it sounds terrible, so I got an original. Grateful Dead's very first live album, Live Dead. Though that is very nice. And of course, Live in Europe 72. Very great albums. I didn't have any of these yet, except for Axamoxa. But very nice additions to my collection. I'm especially pleased with Live Dead here being here, so very nice, and really helps expand my Grateful Dead collection, so that's very much appreciated. So after I went to Charlottesville, Virginia, I moved on and I went and visited a place in Evanston, Illinois called Vintage Vinyl. I've gotten some albums that I've actually reviewed on the channel before there, such as Fresh Cream and The Who's My Generation, but I went back and bought some more stuff at that place. So the first thing I got was music from The Big Pink by the band. Now, as of the time of filming this video, Robbie Robertson is still pretty recently passed away. So, once again, I just kind of want to give a shout out to him. Rest in peace, Robbie Robertson. It's kind of just a coincidence. I kind of got this album around the same time he passed away, but I do want to kind of shout him out. So, there it is, music from The Big Pink. Next thing I got there was The Move's Message from the Country. The last album by The Move. This was the second album to feature Jeff Lynne. This is kind of like a unofficial electrical orchestra album, as it has the same lineup and was recorded back-to-back with their first album. So that is kind of a nice thing. People who watch my channel know I'm a big fan of electrical orchestra. So this kind of goes with it. Next two items I got were Little Creatures by Talking Heads. That's from 1985, if I recall correctly. And Naked by Talking Heads, which is from 1988. I actually already have this one on CD, but this completes my set of Talking Heads studio albums. I don't have all of their live albums yet, but this completes my set of their studio albums. This one in particular is kind of a late release for a vinyl record. Both of these are very nice things to get. We haven't seen very many 80s albums in this whole video, but here are a couple of them, so very nice. Okay, so up next I have Aftermath by Rolling Stones. This is an original first US pressing of Aftermath. That is very nice. This is the earliest Stones album I have now. Previously it was Between the Buttons. That was the earliest Stones album I have. And another album I got was this mint condition copy of Rolling Stones' Sticky Fingers. Still in the original plastic wrap and with the zipper and everything. You know, I don't plan on taking it out of the wrap. And you do have the original Tongue and Lips logo sticker there, and if I remember correctly, this was the first album to have that logo on it. Of course, you do have it printed down there too, but having the original sticker with a track listing on it is very nice and a very important development in rock iconography history. So, I mean, that is quite a nice item, quite a pricey item to get in this condition these days. I mean, it is literally mint, basically. I mean, it's not sealed, but for all intents and purposes, it is mint, so that is very, very nice. And now with it and Aftermath, I now have every Stones album from Aftermath through Some Girls. I'm still missing Emotional Rescue, but, you know, Emotional Rescue, every record store that you go to must have like 50 copies of Emotional Rescue. It's a unwritten rule, or I guess it's written now that I'm recording it to video, but, you know, very important rule, so I'll just pick that up at some point. It's not the world's greatest album. So, finishing off, we have a few little other things. Creedence Clearwater Revival's Pendulum, just an album I didn't already have. I have quite a few Creedence's albums. Now I'm just missing the first and last albums, which, you know, really, it's just really the first that you're really missing out on. But here it is, Pendulum. Very nice. I'll cover this on the channel at some point. And once again, now, to kind of cap things off, we have just a few more. One of the more expensive albums I got, the Great Lost Kinks album. This album was a basically collection of Kinks outtracks from the 60s, originally released in 1973, only in the US, and it got withdrawn in 1975 because of legal reasons, and is complete with all kinds of liner notes and stuff. I will review this at some point on my channel, but might be a while as I haven't already reviewed any Kinks albums so far. But it is a very nice and rather desirable if you're a big fan of the Kinks album, so that is very, very nice. And last but not least, these are also probably the cheapest items of my trip, Buffalo Springfield's first album, and Buffalo Springfield's Last Time Around, that's the last album, and these complete my set of Buffalo Springfield's albums. I already had their greatest hits as well as their second album, Buffalo Springfield Again, so now I have all of Buffalo Springfield's albums. So that is very important, and I don't really know what else to say other than it's another set completed. In this month, I've managed to complete my Still a Dan Original 1 album set, my Neil Young studio discography of the 70s set, as well as up through both the 60s and 70s, and then, of course, my Buffalo Springfield album set, and the Talking Heads studio album set. I've also now managed to have every Rolling Stones album from 1966 through the end of 1979. Technically, Some Girls came out in 78, but it was still current as of the end of 79. Yeah, I mean, I think it was a pretty good haul this month. I mean, you got some really, really big name party items. You got Buffalo Springfield, you got the Stones, got Buckingham Nicks, you had the Great Lost Kinks album, you have, of course, the Van Halen albums, you have the Grateful Dead. I mean, all sorts of nice stuff, including some very rare, very pricey items. So, yeah, I think I made out quite well this month, and I hope you all have enjoyed watching my video on the albums I got this month, or, well, last month, I guess, since it's now September, but, once again, I have other videos like this, including hauls for the last couple months, and of course I will be doing another album haul video next month, at least assuming I get any albums in September, since I kind of drained all my money here in August, you know. I mean, I don't know if you could see the price stickers on all of these, but kind of pricey, so it would help me out a great deal if you would be sure to hit the subscribe button below, as well as like this video with the thumbs up below, because, you know, also, I will, of course, review all these albums eventually on my channel, and, of course, as I said, my album review of Rush's first album is already out now, and my Buckingham Nicks album review comes out very, very soon at the time of release of this video. and will be out probably by the time most of you are watching this, so I would strongly encourage you to go watch that as well. And once again, I want to just thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.